Hi, vintage bakers! Today I'm in the kitchen making a delicious croquembouche.
This homemade croquembouche is a tower of little choux pastry puffs, each filled with silky vanilla cream and glued together with hard caramel.
Delicately crisp profiteroles filled with a smooth and creamy center, while the rich caramelized sugar adds the perfect crunch. An ideal, elegant cake alternative that can be decorated as simply or intricately as you would like. And with its little bite-sized profiteroles, this dessert centerpiece is the perfect addition to any party where appetizers and finger foods are the star of the show.
So let's get into the kitchen. This is how I make a homemade croquembouche.
I'm going to start this recipe with the dough for the profiteroles. In a medium sauce pot over medium-high heat, add in 2/3 of a cup of butter. I'm going to add in 3/4 of a cup of milk and 3/4 of a cup of water. Sprinkle in 1 tablespoon of sugar and a half a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to stir this together until I see the mixture just start to simmer. Then I'm going to reduce the heat to medium-low and add in 1 2/3 of a cup of all-purpose flour. Keep stirring until all of the flour is mixed in and you have a smooth, soft dough ball that cleans the sides of the pot. I'm going to remove this from the heat and add in the eggs. But first, I need to cool down the dough slightly so the eggs don't scramble when I add them in. To do this quickly and easily, I'm going to add the dough to a bowl and mix it for a few minutes, either in a stand mixer or in a large bowl with beaters. With the mixer still going, I'm going to add in 5 eggs, one at a time, and beat well after each addition. After all of the eggs are in, I'm left with a thick batter. To make my profiteroles, I'm going to transfer this batter into a very large piping bag with a large circular tip. If you don't have this at hand, transfer the mixture to a large freezer bag and cut a small hole in the corner. To form my pastries, I'm going to pipe about a tablespoon worth of dough onto a lined baking sheet, about 1.5 inches apart. As you can see, my pastries have a Hershey's Kiss type shape, so I'm going to need to flatten the little tip so it doesn't burn in the oven. To do this, dip your finger into a small glass of water and smooth down any points at the top of the dough that were left from the piping bag. And they're ready to bake in a preheated 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius oven for 10 minutes. This high temperature will give them a big burst of heat, which will help them puff up. Then reduce the temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius and continue to bake for another 15 minutes or until the profiteroles are golden brown and feel very light and airy. For my recipe today, I'm going to use pastry cream to fill my profiteroles. To make the pastry cream, to a large sauce pot over medium heat, add in 4 cups of milk. Scrape the seeds from 1 vanilla bean and add to the milk. If you don't have a vanilla bean, you can use vanilla bean paste or 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Heat the milk until it starts to steam, but don't allow it to simmer. Remove it from the heat and set it aside to steep with the vanilla. Now, while I'm waiting, to a large bowl, combine 3/4 of a cup of sugar, a half a cup of cornstarch, and 12 egg yolks. I'm going to whisk this together until it's very light and creamy. I'm also going to cut a half a cup of cold butter into little cubes. This is going to get added in at the end. It's important to have cold butter because it's going to stop the cooking process of the cream once it's added in. Now my milk is cool enough to be added to the bowl with the rest of the ingredients. While whisking, gently and gradually pour a little bit of the hot milk into the egg and sugar mixture. This is going to temper the eggs, which just means to slowly increase the temperature of the eggs to make sure they don't scramble, which is not the texture that we're going for our rich, smooth pastry cream. Once I have about 2 cups of the hot milk mixed into the egg mixture, I'm going to pour everything together into the sauce pot and return it to medium heat. Keep stirring until you see that it's glossy and thickened. It will start to thicken quite quickly. As soon as you see a few bubbles from it beginning to simmer, remove it from the heat and add in the cold butter. Keep whisking in the butter until you see that it's fully incorporated, and then it can be set aside to cool. I'm going to place a piece of plastic wrap right on top of the pastry cream. This will stop it from forming a skin as it cools. Once the pastry cream and the profiteroles have cooled to room temperature, it's time to start filling. To easily fill my profiteroles, I'm going to add the pastry cream to a piping bag. If you don't have any piping bags on hand, you can also use a large freezer bag with a small hole cut in the corner. For my profiteroles, I'm going to be filling some with pastry cream and some with whipped cream. Since these light as air pastries have a lot of hollow space inside, you could really fill them with anything you'd like, from chocolate mousse, flavored creams, or even lemon curd. Poke the end of the pastry bag into the profiterole. You should be able to see a weak spot in the pastry. Pipe in the filling until the pastry feels noticeably heavier in your hand. This will mean that it is now full of cream. If overfilled, you'll start to see some of the filling come back out, but you'll get the feeling of how much you need to add after filling a few of the pastries. Once filled, you can leave the pastries just as they are, or you can dip, drizzle, and even decorate some or all of them. I'm making a Valentine's themed heart dessert today, so I'm going to dip about half of the pastries into a little white chocolate and then, while still wet, dip the chocolate into some sprinkles. I can then set this aside for the chocolate to harden. Once all of the pastries are filled and decorated, it's time to assemble this dramatic dessert. To form the croquembouche, I like to use a cone form. You can do this without, but you'll need more pastries to reach the same height. You can buy a pre-made cone from craft supply or cake supply stores, or make your own with parchment paper and something on the inside to give it structure. Now I'm going to make sure to have the decorating station set up with the pastries, the cone, and any accessories that I'm going to be using to decorate the dessert. After the caramel glue is made, I need to work quickly to assemble the croquembouche before it sets again inside of the pot or gets overcooked. In a medium sauce pot over medium-high heat, add in 1½ cups of white sugar, a 1/4 cup of water, and 1½ tablespoons of corn syrup. Don't stir this mixture at all, just let it cook and come to a boil. I like to cook mine to a very light color first, that way it can continue to very slowly cook and darken throughout the process. Once you see the caramel turn a very light caramel or light amber color, remove it from the heat. It will continue to cook. Carefully dip the filled profiteroles into the caramel, just enough to glue them onto the cone. Be very careful not to get any of the caramel onto your skin. I like to use kitchen tongs to make sure my fingers stay far away from the caramel. During the process, you'll notice that the caramel starts to become thicker. I'm going to return it to low heat. This will keep the caramel liquid for the entire process. Remove the caramel from the heat once the croquembouche is formed. Allow it to cool and slightly thicken. At this point, you can start to add on any accessories or decorations. Dip a spoon into the caramel and make a spun sugar cage by swirling strands of caramel around the dessert tower. They'll look like little thread strands of hard caramel. And the croquembouche is ready to serve right away. This dramatic dessert can be enjoyed by guests by breaking through the sugar cage and pulling off a bite-sized pastry. The perfect fun and interactive dessert for kids and adults alike. Enjoy! If you're a fan of deliciously simple vintage recipes and old-fashioned skills, then you'll want to check out this next video. Thanks for stopping by.